We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. And do not forget to ring the notification bell. If you want to support this independent national college football's rebel outpost with a donation to help us keep the lights on and grow the channel, just hit that $sign where you make a comment and I will get to super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody. Come on in. Everybody's welcome. Everybody come on in into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. The ACC and the Big 12 needs to earn respect in 2026. What do I mean by that? Great. This is just a coach's poll. It doesn't mean anything, Greg. You're right. It doesn't mean anything. But yet it means everything. Let me try to explain. Miami Hurricanes, they have respect. So this is not about a single team. This is about a conference. But the lack of respect for the conference is bringing down the respect of individual teams. The Miami Hurricanes, I get it. It's a coach's poll. But you've got coaches across the country lining up, and they're voting in the way that ESPN Power Index wants them to vote. The Miami Hurricanes should not be 7. Why are they 7? Yeah, they lost dudes. The top teams lose dudes. But look who they're bringing back. And they're bringing in Darian Mensah. Miami can't be 7. They can't be. They got to be higher than 7. They got to be higher than 7. SMU at 20. ACC 3. The big Texas Tech at 12. I get it. Brendan Sorsby, I get that whole thing. Look, my first reaction was not, maybe I move the Red Raiders out of the Big 12 championship game. But that team is loaded. They're going to whoop up on everybody. They're better than 12. I'm sorry, Big Ten and SEC. I am sorry, but the Red Raiders are better than 12 in the country. BYU at 15. Why are the BYU Cougars being treated this way? Why? From the coaches, and it's going to be from the AP, the voters, and it's going to be from the playoff committee, all the way down the line. Why are the BYU Cougars being treated so? Because the Big 12 has lost or has not gained any shine since they lost Texas and Oklahoma. The TCU playoff win did help, but the Big 12 and the ACC, it may not be fair, but I think it's absolutely reality. You're gonna have to rip the hearts out of the SEC and the Big Ten this year. You're going to have to beat them when you play them, especially in the playoffs. Now, Miami did their part. Miami was an eyelash away from winning the national championship. None of this is on Miami. But Clemson's at 23. That's too high for me. I would not have Clemson at 23. But SMU, Louisville, somebody else. We can't have what we had in last year's ACC championship game. Somebody other than Miami is going to have to bring it this year in the Big 12 and the ACC. You're going to have to win. Is it fair? Are you being too scrutinized? Yes. But BYU should not be 15. The Red Raiders should not be 12. The Miami Hurricanes should not be 7. Utah at 21. Look, the top Big 12 schools and the top ACC schools are starting to have an albatross put around their necks. The Big 12 and the ACC need to rip the hearts out of the Big Ten and the SEC this year. Get it done this year, because this narrative is being cemented over and over and over again. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the coaches poll. The PCSA. Now, we got to talk. We've done a lot of college football this year in the off season. We have done our part. We have done 80 different spotlights. We've done all of our order of finish official prediction of all the power conferences. We've only got the playoff format. The playoffs, that's the only thing we left to do when it comes to our predictions for the season. We have our hot seat list for the coaches done for week 0. We got the Heisman watch list done for week 0. So we've been talking a lot of college football. We're going to do more of that today. We have also done our I Do Declare College Football World Championship. This is where you, the PATC Einsteins, put an I Do Declare super chat, and you put a bold prediction, something that is not the chalk to happen. And then I give you an evaluation from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. 5 points being the most outlandish. I Do Declare. 1 being just a little bit more bold than chalk. We have so far done 100 and I believe 8 I Do Declares. And there will be another day we will go through these I Do Declare. If you get an I Do Declare correct, you will get the points associated with the declaration. If you get it wrong, you're going to get minus the points that you put in your I Do Declare. And at the end of the season, at the end of the championship game, there is going to be an announcement of who is the I Do Declare World Champion, and then you're going to get a trophy from societyawards.com. I will get your name on that award. I will ship it out to you. 108. 108 I Do Declares. And we are still accepting them all the way until kickoff of the week 0 first games that are played, North Carolina, TCU. All right? Now, so today, I decided, no, I cannot do the I Do Declares. This is the PATC Einsteins. You all, this is your chance to declare what you believe is going to happen during the college football season. But I'm going to put up some declarations I think are going to happen myself. We're not going to tally these. I just want you guys to know more of what I'm thinking here as we head on to the season. Today I did the Big 12. 4 storylines that I think are going to pop up during the Big 12 season. And I'm going to give you the 4 storylines that are a little bit more bold than the chalk. Or some of them are big, bold picks. And then I'm going to do that for the other conferences during the month of August. So today is PATC. Bold storyline picks for the Big 12. 4 of them. Before we do all that, we got more news about the Protect the College Sports Act. Ladies and gentlemen, it is getting more and more difficult to believe that this thing is gonna get through the wicket. More coalitions of college and professional athletes labor unions, legal and antitrust advocates came out against it. I really don't think this is all that big of news, to be honest with you. The NAACP, that's obviously a big organization that's going to have an effect on the votes in the House, but the other organizations here I don't think are be all that much of an impact. But talking with people during the day again today, reading reports, there's a lot of... Somebody just sent me a DM. Somebody just sent me a DM talking about how in the bill, when it comes to the 19 and 5, for example, that it's all locked in. It would have to take a change from Congress to change that 19 and 5. And then I read Bob Thompson's comments on X, the former president of Fox Sports, talking about how he read the bill and he has his fear, I think is the right word, his issues with the language in the bill, talking about basically it's going to deflate the incentives for the streamers to come on board and get into the distribution of college sports live events. Now I'm putting my own language in there, but that's how I read Bob Thompson talking. Again, we are going to hear the drumbeat of more and more forces trying to get certain things changed in this bill. It is getting to be more and more difficult to get this to be actually voted on in the Senate before August recess. I listened to Ross Dellinger on College Football Inquirer podcast earlier today. And he's basically warning everybody that if this doesn't get voted on before August recess, there's a lot of fear out there. He did use the word fear, that there is going to be, it's going to be more difficult to get this passed. There's going to be forces coming on in. There's going to be special interest groups coming on in. And you hear the time, you hear the phrase, time heals all wounds. Ross Dellinger has been told up in Washington, D.C., time kills all deals. So the longer this thing goes, if you want this passed, you want to get this wrapped up. But there's a lot of outside forces. There's a lot of things that they're trying to get done in Congress, and this is not on the highest priority list for the Senate. So we have a very interesting situation. And I'm gonna lead you back to our live show yesterday. If this doesn't pass, because of what's going on in the world, politics, just can't get it on the schedule. They're not going to have much time in September either. Then Ross Dellinger said they're only going to have 3 weeks in September to really get it done. If this doesn't pass and we head into 2027, the Big Ten and the SEC are still going to want that antitrust exemption. but there's going to be new leaders in the Senate and the House. And it is probably more likely than not that the new leaders in the Senate and the House are going to lean even more further into, you should probably want to think about having the student athletes employees. This collective bargaining should be part of the plan. Possible representation like unionization, even though we've got all these other issues going on when it comes to that. Big Ten and SEC, that cap number of 19. Maybe we should make it 18. I mean, those forces are going to be more in play, most likely. So there's probably going to be a little bit of a time, a little bit of a window in early 2027. If the Big Ten, for example, says to themselves, man, we liked a lot of that stuff in that bill. That's why we came out and supported it. That's why we switched up the game and we actually came out and said we support it. We need all that stuff. But if it doesn't pass and we're sitting here in early 2027 and we're all going to try to do this once again, well, maybe we have to take things into our own hands when it comes to the 19-5 and have them come back and say, well, since you expanded Big Ten to 20 teams, I guess we'll have to put in a conference can't be larger than 20. For just an example, just to throw that out there. So, as Ross Dellinger said, the next few days are going to be weird. Some who are supporting the bill kind of don't really want it to pass as written. They're hoping that it hits a few roadblocks along the way. There's going to be new voices in this discussion. Earlier today, Annie Staples knows better not to call Minnesota basement dwellers. Annie Staples talks about how good Minnesota has been every offseason until he starts picking the games and he goes against the Gophers. I'm going to have to listen to that because Andy Staples usually gives pretty good props to PJ Fleck. He has him on every 6 months on the show. I don't think he called the Gophers basement dwellers, but I might be wrong. I'm going to have to listen to it. The narrative bowl, sure. Bring it on. I said this. I bring me the smoke. The Gophers should beat Hail State by more than 2 touchdowns. Minnesota has nothing to win in that game and everything to lose. Because, well, we'll talk more about that later. Earlier today, I heard that as well. Run with scissors. He threatened an internal investigations into the SEC and the Big Ten as why they won't be for this great bill. Ross Dellinger talked about that today. The SEC and the Big Ten were not just threatened with social media comments from the president, but they were threatened that they were going to have to come on Capitol Hill and they were going to have hearings about why would you be against this bill. But look, the SEC and the Big Ten are for the bill, right? They support the bill. But there's going to be other people coming on in and saying, wait. We can't have this 19-5. It's already happening. All right. Earlier today, we did an episode. If you missed it, I will go through a little bit right now, and then you can go watch episode 518. Miami's president, the University of Miami president, Joe Echeverria, was on the Joe Rose show earlier today, and he had a little bit to say about 19-5. He was asked Joe Rose about it. And he said, the latest Senate bill has it to where basically the 19-5, and I'm paraphrasing, but the University of Miami's president basically said it was written for Notre Dame. Like they are the team that can take advantage of it. Because going independent, now he didn't say this, but going independent for 5 years, the 19-5 is written for Notre Dame and for smaller schools and smaller conferences. It absolutely kneecaps the Clemsons, the Miami, the Florida States, and other schools that are trying to get to the P2. Now, Joe Echeverria, he said at the end of his statements, and they were not long statements, he said, we at Miami, we're going to make sure we have to get to where we need to get to at the end of our current contracts. So I think that Joe Echeverria is probably, and again, I'm doing some speculation here because he didn't say much, but what he did say, I'm picking up on, he's not a true believer that this is going to stick, this 19-5. More interesting, I listened to, I forget what the show is called. We got it on episode 518. We've got links to both interviews. The one with President Miami, Joe Echeverria, and with Eric Schmidt, the senator of Missouri, on Pete Mundo's show, Kansas City Talk. And the senator of Missouri was asked, what about why the 19-5? And the senator of Missouri said, well, it's not my favorite part of the bill. He was not in favor of the 19-5. He was in favor, he supported the idea of now not allowing a private equity firm or a big bank, he said, to come on in and form a different conference, to form a super league with private equity money. But he did not support the 19-5 and how it was written. He said others were for that. Of course, that's Cantwell and that's Campbell. Basic, that's what it is. So when you have a co-sponsor of the bill that's not in favor of the 19-5, it was... that was the part of the bill that Cantwell and Campbell could not let get ripped out. So they're going to be fighting for that. Now the question is this. If it does pass the Senate, if they're able to get it to a vote, and you go to the House, and you're going to have a lot of voices in the House saying, all right, I will support this bill, but why is this 19-5 in there? This is hurting my Florida State. This is hurting my Clemson. This is whatever. All these schools, they all have all these representatives. In the reconciliation part, is Cantwell and Campbell, because Campbell's involved in this. Sorry, not sorry. If you want me just to use Maria Cantwell, I'll just use her name. Is Maria Cantwell going to stand firm and say, it's got to be in the bill, it's got to be in the bill, it's got to be in the bill, it's got to be in the bill? We'll see. And if it stays in the bill, and if it does pass the House, it's going to get signed into law by President Trump. And I, quite frankly, do not know how it would survive a court ruling. Because you're treating some universities completely different than others, just based upon what athletic conference they're playing in today. I can't even imagine voting. I cannot imagine. I'm still having a hard time contemplating how anybody believes this could be constitutional. We're going to find out. If this passes in the next couple of years, we are going to find out that it's not constitutional. Anyways, so again, I went over those two interviews, really interesting in episode 518. If you're interested, go take a listen. We got a very kind super chat from the Pirate Gator Maynard, $10 holla, Kenneth Maynard. Stephen Godfrey on the podcast also said that the bottom of the Big Ten needs to get better. He said as far as scheduling, the Big Ten serves up trash to Indiana and they torch the non-conference schedule. Thank you for the $10 holler, Kenneth Maynard. Very much appreciate it. I did enjoy your comment on the episode that I put out and where you said, well, how did you say it? You said Army of 19 and 5. You're the Army of 19. You support the Army of 19 and 5. That was really good stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna answer this, and I'm gonna comment on this in two different ways, Mr. Kenneth Maynard and everybody else. And I'm mostly talking to you, my brothers and sisters, my SEC brothers and sisters, when I answer this question. Because Kenneth Maynard has served it up. He's put the ball on the tee. I do not even have to hit a 95 mile per hour fastball. I don't even have to hit it. I don't have to hit an 85 mile per hour curveball that falls off the table. I just got to hit the ball off the tee. Number one, I agree. I did 2 live shows on this where I ripped on Silent Tony in the Big Ten. They should have a requirement. They should have a requirement for 10 games against Power 4 opponents. Of course they should. In Indiana should do it. All of them should. Now, most of them do it anyways. But it should be a requirement. Just like all the other 3 power conferences. No question about it. We're going to start there. Now, I don't think that Indiana won the national championship because they did not play a Power 4 conference team in that conference play, but I agree with that. The bottom of the Big Ten needs to get better. Look, you're always going to have a bottom of a conference. I think what I'm most against is this: the middle of the Big Ten is not as good as the middle of the SEC. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. But I'm not going to spend time on that. But this is what I really want to say. To Mr. Godfrey and everybody else out there, not in Big 12 country, in ACC country, but especially in SEC country. Yes, the Big Ten needs to have a requirement to play 10 A4 opponents, Power 4 opponents. But my gosh, where was all this complaining over the last 5 years? There is so much hypocrisy out there, including Mr. Stephen Godfrey. Let me show you something, guys, ladies and gentlemen. Kenneth Maynor was kind enough to tee it up for the fat guy of Minnesota. Scott Docterman. It's fantastic that the SEC has 9 league games this year. The Big Ten needs to mandate a Power 4 out-of-conference game. No argument there, and I've also said the same thing. I had a couple of live shows on it. But why wasn't this an issue before? From 2021 to 2025, 66 of 78 Big Ten teams played 10 or more P5 foes. The Big 12, 59 of 66. The ACC, 51 of 76. The SEC, 11 of 74. 11 of 74. The Big Ten, 66 of 78. SEC, 11 of 74. Hello? There is no more dramatic statistics that you're ever going to find. For the last 5 years, the SEC, 74 SEC teams, only 11 played 10 Power 4 opponents or more in a season. In the Big Ten, 66 of 78. So if it's embarrassing for the Big Ten not to have a requirement for a 10th Power 4 opponent, in which I have called them out a couple of times on 2 live shows. That was the title of the live show. Why are we not calling out the SEC over the last 5 years? I love you, my brothers and sisters of the SEC. I love you, my brothers and sisters of the ACC and the Big 12. But I think a lot of people are protesting too much. The Big Ten has played more Power 4 opponents, not less, than the other conferences. But they do need a requirement. They do need a requirement. I agree with that. But let's not get it twisted. Let's definitely not get it twisted. Greg, you did not read my super chat at the end of yesterday's live show. When did you put it in, Bruce Harris? I do apologize, but I did go through all the super chats a few times. Did you put it in right at the end? Let me know what you said in the comments section, and I will get it up on the screen. My apologies, but I did go through all of the super chats that were listed. Now, at the very end, in the last couple of minutes, when I'm doing when I'm saying goodbye to everybody and what we've done, sometimes a very kind folk like you will put a super chat in, and I will not put that in. I will not see it. So I do apologize, Bruce Harris. Let me know. Let me know. The Big Ten's last 3 national champions played nobody in the non-conference. Thank you, BYU football. And then again, what does that have to do with... There's a lot of coping going on out there, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of coping going on out there. Um, all right. Thank you, Kenneth Maynard. Thank you for getting us started. I do appreciate it. Mama Duck is in the house. Bob Swanger, Great for Trojan. Florida Man, The Architect. Yogi Buck, Battlestrap. The Notorious Sun Devil. People are getting ready for the season. Bulls Fan 2K7. Yeah, that includes the Pac-12 because the Pac-12 was a power conference for a few of those years. Absolutely. But again, the numbers are so different. See, nobody's picking on the SEC for having 11 teams out of 76 playing 10 or more Power 4. The Big Ten had 66 out of 78, but that can't be part of the conversation in the chat room. Ask yourself why that is. I ain't saying, but I'm saying. I mean, those numbers are, that should tell you the story that Stephen Godfrey will not say on his podcast. The Big Lubbock is in the house. Adam is here. Daryl is here. Thanks for coming on in. Appreciate it. Godfrey called Purdue, Maryland, and the bottom of the conference trash. Buckeye Greg is here. Jim from Blacksburg is here. I do appreciate everybody coming on in. Steven is here. By the way, Stephen Daly, the great defensive lineman for the Indiana Hoosiers, is coming back for a 5th season. That was just announced. This guy lives behind the line of scrimmage. Indiana Hoosiers are absolutely stacked. Good luck, everybody. Good luck, everybody. Mohr Simmons is in the house. Amy is here. Thanks for coming on in. Appreciate it. Nick, the Virginia Tech Hokie. I hope everything's going good, Nick. I hope everything is going good. The college football season is just around the corner. Jose is here. It was right at the end. Okay, sometimes I don't see when it's right at the end. I do appreciate it. I appreciate the support, Mr. Harris. It read, is it true that the DC Comics based the character on Mr. Freeze on Greg's life? I'm going to say it's probably not true, but I guess the rumors are out there. Thank you, Bruce Harris. Thank you for the super chat. I very much appreciate it, kind sir. Thank you very much. I don't believe so, but I think the rumors have been out there. Yeah, Purdue just won the Big Ten West. Now, they've hit hard times. They've hit hard times, no question about it. No question about it. I think Maryland, I got Maryland coming in 10th this year. I think Maryland might be it might be the year for Maryland. Morris Simmons is in the house. Ryan Brooks is here. The LSU meeting today. There was some reporting that a private equity firm was involved, and I poked and prodded on that. It was early this morning, and it was late last night. I was told to hold off on that, so I did not do an episode on it because I was told that that may not be true. It sounds like it's not true. I think we're going to get more. There is one report out there on what this is, but I'm going to wait until tomorrow until we get some more reporting of it. It sounds like, Mr. Brooks, that the LSU trying to generate more money has to do with not private equity, but something to do with the mechanism of where LSU, possibly investors, boosters, can invest in other companies, and there's going to be a creation of an LLC, and that some of that money could go towards the companies that generate the money can now go towards LSU athletics. I do not understand it. I don't think the person who wrote the article understood it. So I'm going to wait till tomorrow. It doesn't sound like it involves private equity. The governor, LSU's governor Landry, said I was contacted by 50 different private equity companies, and we're not going to do that. Not to traditional private equity, he said. So, and we're going to have to get more clarity on that. And then I think we'll talk about it tomorrow. Mr. Ryan Brooks, thanks for the question. Man, people are getting a little feisty here. I think we're getting closer and closer to college football season. People are getting a little feisty. Why is Missouri ranked? All right, that's a really good segue, Jim from Blacksburg. I'm not sure why Missouri should not be ranked. Why is Missouri? Again, let's talk about it. Let's jump right into it. Again, it's just a coach's poll. We're not supposed to take it too seriously. But let's talk about it. Coach's poll: Buckeyes 1, Oregon 2, Georgia 3, Texas 4, Notre Dame 5, Indiana 6, Miami 7, A&M 8, Oklahoma 9, Ole Miss 10, Alabama 11, the Red Raiders 12. I tell you what, if the Red Raiders played Alabama right now in a neutral field, I'd take the Red Raiders. LSU 13, USC 14, BYU 15, Michigan 16, Penn State 17, Tennessee 18. Hello? What are we doing? What are we doing with Tennessee at 18, coaches? Now, I'm hoping the AP voters don't have Tennessee at 18. I love Tennessee, guys. I mean, well, let me say this. I've said this before. I dislike Tennessee less than anybody else in the SEC. The Volunteers are my favorite football program in the Southeastern Conference. But you should not be at 18. You don't know who your quarterback's going to be. Neither quarterback has played a down or not any true George McIntyre. Come on. What are we doing here? Tennessee's defense is going to take a step back. Why is Tennessee 18? Missouri 25 makes no sense. None. Austin Simmons, who played a little bit at Ole Miss, I get it. He was the starter, da-da-da, da-da-da. I like the running back that's going to be replacing Ahmed Hardy. He's good. They got a good RB2. They are returning one starter from last year. One. They've got no defensive production coming back. But my main problem with this is the Red Raiders at 12 and BYU at 15. I don't even know how you do that. I don't know how you do that. I do not know how you do that. I'm not as big. Sorry, Bruce Harris. You know, I'm not all that big on Oklahoma this year. I mean, I don't know. Like, the defense is going to be good again. I don't know if that offense, I think, is going to be clunky again. Hopefully I'm wrong. They were a playoff team last year. I don't know how you have Alabama ahead of these teams. And as much as I like USC this year, and I've got USC going to the playoffs, at the beginning of the season, I would not have USC ahead of Brigham Young. I would not have Alabama ahead of USC or Brigham Young. Yeah, so again, I get back to this. Yeah, you know, it's not the end of the world. It's a coaches poll. It doesn't mean that much. Or it means everything, depending on how you want to look at it. The ACC and the Big 12, they got to bring it. At the end of the year, they have to have a result that tears the heart out of a Big Ten fan base, that tears the heart out of an SEC fan base. That's what's got to happen. I'm going to be honest with you. That is what has to happen. Somebody other than Miami in the ACC get it done in the playoffs along with Miami. Somebody in the Big 12 get it done at the end of the season. Beat a Big 10 team. Beat an SEC team. And then I think some of this fog, this haziness over these two conferences, because there's a lot of good football players in these two conferences, some really good football teams in these conferences. They're not getting the benefit of the doubt. They're not going to have all these metrics. They're not going to have all these favorable things happening to them. The power football index and all this other stuff, until they rip the heart. Look what the Big Ten has done to the SEC over the last 3 years. And some people are still arguing, well, you know, because, you know, Indiana, they did not play a Power 4 opponent. That's why they beat Alabama 38-3. I mean, that is where we're at this point. But the Big Ten has grudgingly gotten that respect now. And I'm not saying that the Big 12 and the ACC have to do what the Big Ten has done over the last 3 years. Not saying that. But they've got to really they've got to go in there and shake it up. Have Paul Feinbaum say at the end of that playoff game, I did not see that coming. Man, oh man, the Red Raiders came to play and we've got issues in the Big Ten. We've got issues in the SEC. The Red Raiders just clunked somebody. The BYU just destroyed somebody. The Utah Utes just beat somebody at the buzzer. The Utah Utes are going to the next round of the playoffs. Look what Willie Fritz is doing at Houston. They went 12-1, 11-1. There's got to be something that the Big 12 can hang their hat on at the end of the season. The Red Raiders were a great team last year. Unfortunately, it did not happen for them in the playoffs. This year, something has got to happen. Miami is well respected, no question about it. But they're still not getting the respect they deserve, in my opinion. Let me know how wrong I got it. They're still not getting quite the respect that they deserve. The Red Raiders are still not getting quite the respect they deserve. BYU is still not getting the respect they deserve. Something has got to happen in the playoffs for both or at least one of those conferences. All right. So that is the coaches poll. Again, let me know how wrong I got it once again. Let me go through what I have deemed my own I do declare. Now, this is my Big 12 I do declare. Again, this is not part of the competition. I am not part of the competition. I did not put evaluation points on my 4. I got 4 statements, storylines that I want to talk about in the Big 12 that I think are going to happen during the season. Today I'm going to do the Big 12. Later on in the month of August, I'll do the SEC, the Big 10, and the ACC. Again, these are our I do declares in PATC country. If you want to be part of the competition, you put in a super chat, I do declare, and you put in your statement, we'll give you evaluation. During the season, we are going to keep track of who got what right, who got what wrong, and somebody's going to come out of the PATC Einstein Pact and be declared the college football I do declare world champion. Take a look at all these I do declares. And we'll go through them in a live show when we get closer to week 0. The first game, August 29th, we'll go through these individually. We'll have a lot of fun talking about them. This is my I do declare here in the Big 12. My 4 storylines that I think are going to pop up. CFB, PATC, 4 storylines for 2026, the Big 12 edition. We'll have an ACC edition, the SEC edition, the Big 10 edition later on in the month of August. Storyline number 1, Kansas State starts the season 8-0. 8-0. If you look at their schedule, they do play Tulane on the road against Cincinnati. That is that home game against Houston is going to be a tough one. Kansas at home. Arizona State on the road. Some would say that's going to be a tough one. And then Colorado. Now, those last 4 games, I do have them losing 2 or 3 games out of the last 4. Oklahoma State, TCU, on the road to TCU, and at home against Arizona. But I think Kansas State has a really good shot at starting 8-0. Again, one of the bold storylines that I think we're going to see during the Big 12 season. Number 2, Satterfield out by November 7th. The Cincinnati Bearcats head coach, I think he loses his job on or out before November 7th. Before they go on the road against Houston, I don't think he's going to be the head coach of the Bearcats anymore. Again, they play at home against Kansas State, on the road to Arizona, on the road to West Virginia, at home against Texas Tech, at home against Utah. Is a good chance Cincinnati loses every one of those games. They're not going to be favored in any one of those games. So before they go on the road to Houston, I think Satterfield will be out of a job. So that is, if you look at Satterfield's coaching record. Now look at Cincinnati, 3-9, 5-7, 7-6. But the Bearcats did collapse at the end of the season last year, and I think they're going to hit a bunch of losses in the Big 12 this year. And I think Satterfield loses his job before November 7th. Out by November 7th. Storyline number 3. One of the many reasons why I think the Red Raiders are going to win the Big 12 championship again, even with Will Hammond as quarterback, coming off a serious knee injury. The Red Raiders will have 2 1,000 yards rushers. Run that ball, run that ball, run that ball, and they're going to have the ball a lot. The defense is going to take it away from the opposing offense. Will Hammond, they're going to try to keep him healthy. They're not going to have many design runs for him, even though he's a great athlete before his knee injury. If you take a look at last season, Cameron Dickey, Jakari Williams, 1,124 yards, 868. This year, both of them go over the 1,000-yard mark. Dickey and Williams. So, number 1 storyline, Kansas State starts the season 8-0. Satterfield's out by November 7th. The Red Raiders will have 2 1,000-yard rushers. In the last storyline that I believe is going to happen in the Big 12, Bear Bachmeier finished the season top 8 in the Heisman voting. Superman. Top 8. Take a look at last year's vote. Mendoza, number 1. Diego Pavia, 2. Jeremiah Love, 3. Julian Sain, 4. Jacob Rodriguez, number 5. Jeremiah Smith, 6. Gunnar Stockton, 7. Trinidad Chambliss was number 8 in the vote. I think Bear Bachmeier is going to come in the top 8. The top 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 by the end of the season. So again, I just wanted to share that. These are some of the storylines. Again, we're chopping it up. We're talking college football. The 4 storylines for the 2026 season. This was our Big 12 edition. For those who missed it, we did our order of finish prediction for all of the Power 4 conferences. We've also got the 2026 head coach hot seat rankings. 1 through 6. Satterfield is right there at number 7. Norvell, number 1. Luke Fickell, number 2. Loxley, number 3. Dave Aranda, 4. Shane Beamer, 5. Bill Belichick, 6. This is going to be adjusted every single week during the season. This is heading into week 0. Now, if you look at my predictions, I think Luke Fickell is going to be gone before the end of the season. But Mike Loxley has a chance to survive. It's going to be Nick and Tuck. Bill Belichick, Shane Beamer, Dave Aranda, Mike Norvell, Luke Fickell. I think they're all in trouble. This is our PATC Heisman Watch going into week 0. Again, this will be adjusted every single week. Trinidad Chambliss, the Ole Miss quarterback number 1, Julian Sain number 2, Arch Manning number 3, Dante Moore 4, Darren Mensah 5, Jeremiah Smith number 6. Our final SEC prediction, again, there it is. Longhorns 31, LSU 27. Texas is your SEC champion. In the Big 12, final prediction. There it is. Championship game. The Red Raiders beat BYU 20-17. In the Big 10, and I do not have the graphics up, I apologize, but it's going to be the Buckeyes over Oregon 38-33. I'm going to have to put that back in there. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Miami 41-20 over Louisville in the ACC. All right. Let me see if there has been any reporting. I'm sure there has been during our live show. Give me a minute here. Brett McMurphy has reported that USC has withdrawn from a potential series with Texas Tech Red Raiders, to play in Houston in 27, in Las Vegas in 28. The neutral site games would have pitted Lincoln Riley versus Alameda, but it's dead. The discussions are not going anymore. That is one report. All right, we'll open up the phone lines. Opening up the phone lines. Yesterday, is that the one that I read about Texas Tech Red Raiders and USC? Yeah, I just read that. Okay, I just read that. Phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Give us a call. The phone lines are open. You can talk about anything in college football that your heart desires. ACC and the Big 12 need to earn respect here in 2026. Bear Heismer. We Hank. I told this story before, but Hank Bachmeier. Hello.
Call from
Jose.
Jose, go ahead, sir. The floor is yours.
How's it going?
Good.
I tried to call yesterday, but doing good. I tried to call yesterday, but I got in too late before you got to shut it down.
No problem.
So yeah, we were looking to get the Texas Red Raiders on a home and home.
Yeah.
And then that's when the feathers hit the fan, to put it one way, when Cody Campbell, and then it was either rumored or maybe it did actually get put out to some conferences to boycott them. And then, so USC just kind of laid low to wait to see how it played out. And in the end, we really wanted to get the Irish back in rotation. So it was, I guess it worked out for the best.
Yeah. Yeah, I can, look, USC, I mean, start in 2030, you're going to be at least playing 9 Big Ten games and then Notre Dame, right? You could be
if we haven't gone to
10
conference games.
You could be playing 10 conference games and then Notre Dame. So, I don't know what else people would expect out of the Trojans when it comes to the scheduling. I think you're going to be just fine.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing that for a while. I mean, it was unglorified. We were playing 9 in the Pac-10 and then scheduling Notre Dame every year. So that was 10 back then, I guess P5, whatever the equivalent would have been, 10 P5 opponents. And then we, like Florida, Florida also, you got to give props to them. They, just like them, we played 11 P4 opponents when we opened up with LSU, played 9 Big Ten games, and then closed out with Notre Dame a couple of years ago. But, no fanfare. There wasn't any, Stephen Godfrey's back then applauding and congratulating USC for scheduling 11 P4 opponents. Where was he back then?
Yeah, I mean,
but yeah.
The numbers, again, I'll post them. The numbers are stunning, right? They're absolutely stunning between power.
Not even close.
It's not even close. But yet, there's been more complaining about the last year of Big Ten's non-conference scheduling than the previous 5 combined. I mean, I don't know what's going on out there. Does Stephen Godfrey not know the numbers? He probably doesn't. Andy Staples definitely isn't going to talk about it. Josh Pate definitely is not going to talk about it. So we get this narrative that is pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And then you put up the numbers and then suddenly everybody forgets about it for a while. Should the Big Ten have a requirement? I believe they should. I think it's stupid not to. A requirement. Almost every one of your teams are doing it anyways. But, and at some point they'll probably go to 10 conference games anyways. And I think, Jose, there's been a lot of changes in college football. One of those changes is this NIL transfer, new era of college football. And the Big Ten has taken advantage of it. But you know what? It might be where that cycles out and the SEC goes back to dominating college football for the next 3, 4, 5 years. Or maybe the Big 12, maybe the ACC. But I think this change has got people doing a lot of coping out there. And they're trying to grab, Indiana's really old. Indiana didn't play anybody. Indiana this, Buckeyes this, Big Ten is... The middle of the Big Ten, no good. The bottom of the, it's just it's a constant kind of a defensive mechanism within inside their college football soul, right? They're trying to hang on to what it was like back in the olden days, which was 4, 5, 6 years ago. What are your thoughts on that, Jose?
Yeah, it's been, so long ingrained in everybody's heads. Then it's, over a decade, 15 years, that it's, when in management they teach that, when they have new hires come in, that it's very, very important to teach someone to do the right thing the first time. Even in universities, when you teach someone new material, you have to teach it right the first time, because it makes it so much more difficult to have a student unlearn something and then reteach them the proper thing. That once they've learned something, it's almost ingrained in their head, and some people's brains just aren't even wired to be able to relearn something the right way. Mm-hmm. And at the time, it was correct. For the last 15 years, the narrative was right, but this isn't 2015 anymore. And so what happens now, some people just either don't have the ability to unlearn something and and adapt to what it is now in the present, or just some don't want to, and they're in denial, There was who was it? The Ross Dellinger, Andy Staples, and the other guy show. They were talking about something to this topic where it's either some people are either delusional or they're in denial. It's like the 12 steps of recovery that you have to accept. The first step that there's either not a problem in this scenario, but if you're an alcoholic, you have to accept you're an alcoholic. If you don't even acknowledge step one, the rest of the 11 steps aren't going to be fruitful. So it was now something like Paul Feinbaum's come around and admitted that there is an issue. There's something that they have to look at, whether it's coaching, developing of players. It's just not pointing the finger at NIL and the transfer portal. It's what is it like? Over half of the coaches at the ACC have been fired in the last 5 years. Kirby Smart and Steve Sarkisian are like the two tenured coaches there now, where, a few years ago, they were the newer coaches.
Yeah.
But yeah, and now we got John Summerall. They're taking a good step towards it.
Yeah. Now I'm sensing people grudgingly giving respect to the USC Trojans this year. Now,
yeah.
if you know this, Jose, I was early to jump on the Trojans, right? I guarantee
you were.
I gave everybody a Greg the Gold 5-star lock guarantee that the Trojans were going to make the playoffs this year. Now, a game has not been played. Some would say I definitely have given the Trojans the kiss of death. But you can see that other people are, I'm going to be very interested to see where the AP voters have USC going into week 0. In the coaches poll, I think they did, I don't think they could have ranked them any higher, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They got them at number, 13, is it? 14.
14.
Yep.
But they got us ahead of BYU, so that's respectable, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Some
I
might
don't
think
think
that
you
BYU
should be at
be
this
ahead.
point, but they're giving you more respect, and I think that has to do with the disrespect that Big 12 schools are getting. I think Brigham Young's got that Big 12 albatross, and they shouldn't, but they do. But yeah, because earlier this spring, you saw like USC 19, 20, 21, 22, 18. But now people, if you look at them, they're putting them at 14, 12, 15, 14, 16. Yep, I think it's happening.
Yeah, and we can pull off some upset wins. All of our wins were, or even, it was always within a score. We were always hanging in every single game. It's not like we got blown out of any of the games like we used to in the Clay Helton era. That a lot of USC alums and fans just don't seem to. They just either blocked it out of their minds, the ones that complain about Lincoln Riley, or they just are oblivious to it because they're too young or whatever. But it's like we were in the dumps before, and they don't give credit to Lincoln Riley to even bringing us back into the conversation. People are actually even talking about USC. That's a big accomplishment that Lincoln has accomplished. But yeah, I like that. It's going to be our defense. I mean, that's just what it is. With Riley's air raid offense, it's plug and play. He made Mekhi Lemon. He made Jacoby Lane. He's going to make Mark Bowman. It's nobody knew who Mekhi Lemon was when he came in, and then he got drafted. Nobody knew who Jacoby Lane was. Nobody was,
Well, we all know who we all know who Mark Bowman is. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Lincoln Riley creates superstars because of this offensive system, plug and play. It's going to be another top 5 offense once again, like it's always been. The question has always been the defense. And in football, defense is what travels. You cannot win road games without defense. Defense travels, and that's been our Achilles heel against Illinois. Again, we had the lead on Illinois, and we blew it at the end. All these losses we had, we were leading at some point. Even Minnesota. I remember we were beating the Gophers in Minnesota, and then we just blew it at the end. And PJ Fleck, PJ went for it on 4th down and just put the dagger in our backs, and the rest is history. But again, our defense just collapsed at the end. Lack of depth. We've got the depth now. Gary Patterson's in there. So it's going to boil down to the defense.
I have not.
One way or
I
the
have
other.
not heard this much hype over a true freshman tight end since I don't know when. This Mark Bauman, he better be the next coming of Gronkowski.
Mark
or what,
Bavaro. Yeah, Gronkowski or Mark Bavaro.
Yeah, because, man, USC people are talking him up.
He punishes on with the ball. I mean, he's like a linebacker with the ball when he's running. If you get to see any of his spring practices, I mean, he is just dominant. And then his attitude. He's a freshman, but he doesn't act or speak like a freshman. The way he carries himself, his aura. But yeah, we fought hard to get him. There was many schools that were trying to get him, and we fought hard for him. And he was the last one to sign too, because we were waiting. That was, I think, the clincher to secure the number one recruiting class for this year. We were waiting for him to sign, and he didn't sign until after 6 p.m. And Oregon was also trying to horn in on it like they always do, but we were able to close them out. But yeah, to close it, going back to the Notre Dame USC series resuming, that's pretty much the leprechaun, and that's kind of what, my neighbor's cat had been hearing. They wanted to just keep the status quo as long as they possibly could until they were forced. But I do like how they're going to start week 0. I think for college football in general, it's the best thing. I think we should have the rivalry for the Joel Shillelagh to kick off the season and bookend it with Army versus Navy. So I think every opener of the season, week 0, should be USC versus Notre Dame, and then close out the regular season with Army versus Navy. I think that would be justice for college football in general. Yeah. But finally, we got Notre Dame to agree to play week 0, and then on Labor Day, weekend after that, and then they won the first 3 weeks thereafter. But it should be week 0.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, go for
that
Topher.
early.
Thanks so much for you.
Yep. All right. I appreciate it, Jose. Thank you very much, sir.
Yep.
Great call.
Yep. Fight on.
Fight on. Unless you play in the Gophers, of course. I mean, you got a great tight end at LSU. You've got a great tight end in Lubbock. The next great tight end seems to be coming out of Southern California. We'll find out. He sure does have a lot of hype. A lot of hype. Phone lines are open. The floor is yours on a phone call. Floor is yours on a super chat. Checking out to see if there is any... All right. I guess we'll close it down. Maybe I've done too many live shows. We've been doing a live show every day during the off season. I love to talk college football, but this place has been pretty dead the last couple of days. So maybe I'll go back on vacation for a few days and come back and see if usually August people are ready to go. But maybe everyone's a little bit worn out, trying to take a breath. We'll see what happens. I'll try to do a live show tomorrow on August 5th, Wednesday. But we'll close it down an hour, 24 minutes in. Nobody really talking college football, so we'll step aside and let you guys enjoy the family and loved ones. I want to thank I do want to thank Kenneth Maynard for the super chat. Very kind of you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jose, for the phone call. I do appreciate it. We didn't get any phone calls yesterday. We got one today. Maybe the phone calls are going out of style in college football YouTube channels. Hardly anybody does them. I do them because I want to have this show be about us, the nobodies. That's why I don't do any interviews with other people. I try to give everybody the ability to put a voice out. But again, maybe it's just people maybe need to take a breath from PATC and college football. We'll find out later this week. But until next time, from all of us at PATC, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. And as always, God, family,